Welcome to Brainista, the podcast diving deep into the medical mind. I'm your host, Adrian, and today we have the brilliant Anna here to unpack a fascinating, cutting-edge topic, remote brain health assessment using smartwatches and smartphones.
Great to be back, Adrian.
Anna, before we get started, I am really interested in thinking about how this applies to my daily clinical work. So let's tee this up for our listeners with two questions. First, in our increasingly tech-saturated world, how can we, as healthcare professionals, reliably use the data passively gathered by our patients' smartwatches to get objective markers for early signs of cognitive decline? And second, if early detection is key, can this type of remote monitoring actually shift the needle in managing diseases like Alzheimer's by enabling earlier intervention and lifestyle changes?
Those are the million-dollar questions, Adrian, and we're about to dive deep into some research that provides exciting insights.
I'm all ears. But first, a quick note for our listeners. We'll be referencing a study today, Smartwatch and Smartphone-Based Remote Assessment of Brain Health and Detection of Mild Cognitive Impairment, published in Nature Medicine in 2025. We will also mention the Digital Medicine Journal and Alzheimer's and Dementia, Translational Research and Clinical Interventions. For those of you who want to do your own research, the links to the bibliography are in the description below. So Anna, let's get started.
Absolutely, Adrian. As you both know, brain health is a growing concern, especially as our population ages. Traditional methods of assessment can be time-consuming, expensive, and often only capture a snapshot of a person's cognitive abilities. Now think about the smartwatches and smartphones that so many of our patients are already wearing, all day, every day. There is so much opportunity to leverage that, and that's where remote brain health assessment comes in. The Intuition Brain Health Study is really interesting in this space. It's all about tackling this unmet need for accessible, scalable screening to detect cognitive decline. We want to catch it early so that we can intervene and improve patient outcomes in the long run. Like that old saying, a stitch in time saves nine, but in this case, it's a signal in time saves the mind.
Signal in time saves the mind, Anna. That's going to stick with me for sure. So how did this Intuition study actually work? What did the process of gathering all this data actually look like?
The Intuition Brain Health Study really went big. They enrolled over 23,000 adults in the US. They used a custom research application to collect data from their iPhones and Apple Watches over a period of 24 months.
Wow, that's a long time. Why iPhones and Apple Watches?
They wanted to make use of commonly owned personal devices. After all, this approach can only work if people already have, know how to use, and are willing to use the devices. The devices are the backbone of the data. They tracked routine device usage, collected self-reported health information, and administered cognitive assessments remotely.
What kind of data were they collecting from their smart devices?
They were tracking device usage patterns, like how often people use certain apps, how they type, and even their movement. It is quite a lot of data. They combined this with more direct input, like survey responses and results from cognitive tests.
So it's kind of like combining passive data with active cognitive assessments, if I am following?
Exactly. They aimed to classify mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, characterize cognitive trajectories, and develop the tools to detect and track cognitive health at scale, as it is all about being able to measure effectively and efficiently.
Fascinating. So what were the main findings when it came to MCI classification?
They were able to show foundational proof of concept MCI classification modeling results using interactive cognitive assessment data. This provides support for the reliability and validity of remote MCI detection and the usefulness of such data in describing at-risk cognitive health trajectories.
It's pretty clear that there is great potential here in the methodology. But what about some of the challenges of cognitive health research?
That is a key aspect of the Intuition Brain Health Study. A big aim was to address those challenges, like the limited representativeness in current cognitive health research.
What do you mean by representativeness?
Well, think about the study participants. Usually, research is very specific in its geographic location and demographics. The locations are near medical or university centers, and the participants are mostly of one race or ethnicity. This study actively tried to avoid that and embrace a broader and more accurate assessment.
So they are thinking about bias from the start?
Absolutely. They were very purposeful to include as many different people as possible, from various backgrounds and locations. They used technology to reach populations that are often underrepresented in research.
So what are the practical implications for doctors and nurses and other medical professionals?
First, be aware of the potential biases in cognitive health research and assessments. Second, look for tools and methods that are validated on diverse populations. Finally, consider remote and digital tools to reach a broader range of patients.
So that covers diversity and bias. What about these digital biomarkers we've been hearing so much about? What are they and how do they relate to what you're talking about?
Excellent question, Adrian. Think of it this way. We've always looked for cognitive phenotypes, which are the outward expressions of someone's cognitive abilities, for example, through a mini mental state exam. Now, we're trying to find digital phenotypes, which are the same expressions but measured by technology like smartwatches.
Can you put that in even simpler terms for the clinicians and nurses who are listening?
Sure. A cognitive phenotype might be slowed reaction time, noticed in an in-person test. The Intuition Brain Health Study is really looking to turn that into a digital phenotype that could be measured on a smartwatch. For example, say, the average delay to tap a virtual button on a phone is 3 seconds.
Okay, I think I see. It's like translating our usual observations into a digital language that a machine can understand?
Exactly. And that digital language can be continuously tracked in daily life, not just in a doctor's office. That will help us understand an individual's current condition and help us identify whether there has been a meaningful change relative to their baselines over time. Based on the Intuition Brain Health Study, there are 3 key clinical points that come to mind. First, embrace the data from technology. Even a little bit can improve detection. As we've discussed, the integration of smart devices can be really simple. The use of iPhone-based metrics, for example, can help reveal meaningful data. The more data you have, the more high resolution your cognitive assessment will be.
Got it. Take in and use the data that are available to us. What's the second takeaway?
Second, interpreting patient input is key. The study showed that the best predictive power actually came from combining patients' subjective complaints and objective performance on cognitive tests. In other words, what the patient tells you is just as vital as what the tests show you. Even more critically, you should document and weigh these factors together.
Okay, so listen to your patients and document everything. Now, how about that third point, Anna?
Yes, do listen and do document. The third point is that early detection can offer maximal benefit to the patient. So even small changes in cognitive function, especially when coupled with a patient's concerns, need to be taken seriously. The data should encourage us to screen and monitor at-risk individuals more proactively, even outside of traditional clinical settings.
Wow, those actionable points are really interesting, Anna. So how can we distill these key takeaways into something doctors and nurses can easily remember, maybe even use to spark a quick chat with a colleague? Some catchy slogan to remind everyone of the teaching points.
How about this? Smart data, smart listening, smart screening. Unlock brain health early. It's got a nice ring to it and hits all the key points we just talked about.
I love it, Anna. That's great. Smart data, smart listening, smart screening.
I think it's also memorable because it has a really positive spin. It's not about some gloomy picture of brain health. It's about proactive assessment, using all tools available with the patient front and center.
Definitely. It gives a clear mental image. Plus, it's empowering, not scary. It tells colleagues to use those smart tools and to listen for clues to problems and to screen. It's a call to action in itself. Okay, Anna, so to quickly summarize, today we learned about how consumer-grade wearables and smartphones are being used to assess brain health remotely. We learned about early detection of mild cognitive impairment in demographically diverse aging populations. And we even have a new slogan.
That's right, Adrian. Smart data, smart listening, smart screening, unlock brain health early.
Excellent. So Anna, what is the take-home message and a call to action for all of our eager Brainista listeners?
Considering the accessibility and ubiquity of these technologies and the compelling findings of this study, I'd urge all healthcare professionals to really consider incorporating these methods into your practice. Start by simply listening more closely to your patient's concerns about their cognitive health. Follow that by looking at the use of passive and active techniques and data to screen patients. This will vastly improve how we diagnose and detect cognitive decline and ensure more people receive the care and support they need sooner to make a positive difference.
Anna, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
My pleasure, Adrian.
And thank you, our wonderful Brainista listeners, for tuning in.
And remember, disclaimer and bibliography in the description.